Dumb Husky and His White Cat Shizun is a BL novel. This is an audiobook made by fans for other fans. Disclaimer. Descriptive violence and triggers for sensitive content. If you don't like it, don't listen. Thank you. Remember, subscribe and click the bell to stay updated on all the new releases. Enjoy. Chapter 4. This venerable one's younger cousin. This Shi Mei was not a junior marshal's sister. Shi Mei was an honest-to-goodness male, and in terms of when they entered the sect, he was actually Ran's senior marshal brother. His unfortunate name was all because the Lord of Life-Death Peak wasn't well read. Shi Mei had been an orphan whom the Peak Lord brought back from the wilderness. This child had been weak and sickly since young, so the Peak Lord thought about it. He'd have to give this kid a lowly name, since having a lowly name would make them easier to raise. The kid had red lips and white teeth, like a little girl who'd be loved by all, so the Peak Lord racked his brains and came up with a name, Shuya. Shuya grew bigger and handsomer, with a pretty face and a nice body. Even his brows and eye corners were full of charm, with the nuance of a top-notch beauty. Men in the countryside villages could live with a name like Shuya, but were there exquisite beauties with names like Gaodan or Taizu? The other disciples in the sect felt that it wasn't suitable and gradually stopped calling him Shuya. But it was bad to change the name that the Peak Lord had given, so they began to call him Junior Sister as a joke. After hearing Junior Sister day in and day out, the Peak Lord simply waved a big hand and said empathetically, "Shuya, you might as well change your name. How about Shi Mei, Mei as in foolish, how's that?" He still had the heart to ask how that was. How could any normal person stand this bullcrap name? But Shi Mei was a good-tempered person. He looked up at the Peak Lord and found the latter looking at him delightedly and excitedly, somehow thinking he'd done a wonderful job. Shi Mei didn't have the heart to refuse, feeling that he shouldn't embarrass the Peak Lord even if he had misgivings. Thus, he knelt and gave thanks, changing his name from then on. Acknowledge. The black-cloaked person coughed for a bit before regaining his breath. He looked up at Ran. Ran. Why are you here? Behind the sheer silk veil, those eyes were gentle as water in spring, bright as the stars, piercing right through to the bottom of Ran's heart. With one look, all of Lord Taoists' sweet romantic feelings and young man's troubles that had been buried under dust for years, they were unlocked instantly. It was Shi Mei. He'd never be wrong. Ran was a hooligan in the making, and he had bedded many men and women in his past life. Even he himself was pretty surprised that he hadn't died of overexertion in bed. But for the only person he'd loved with all his heart, he had always been careful, not daring to touch them so easily. All those years, he and Shi Mei had been ambiguously romantic with each other, but up till Shi Mei's death, Ran had only ever held hands with him. Even his mouth had only been kissed once by accident. Ran thought he was filthy while Shi Mei was so gentle and pure. He didn't deserve this person. While this person was alive, he had already treasured him very much, let alone after this person's death. He completely became a ray of white moonlight in Lord Taoists' heart. No matter how much he missed him, that person had become a handful of earth, buried beneath the earth, gone without a trace. But in this very moment, Shi Mei had appeared, fully alive, before him. Ran had to use all the strength he had to suppress his agitated emotions. Ran helped him up, dusting away the dirt on his cloak. He was so worried, he felt like he was losing flesh. "If I hadn't been here, how much more would they have bullied you? Why don't you fight back when others hit you? I wanted to reason it out with them first." "What's there to reason about with these people? You're injured, aren't you?" Where does it hurt? Ahem, Aran, don't let me be in the way. Amoran turned his head, his expression fierce as he said to the Taoists, you dare lay a hand on even people from life-death peak. You're really fearless, huh? Aran, forget it. Didn't you wanna fight? Come. Why don't you fight me? After being struck by Amoran earlier, those Taoist priests knew this person's cultivation base was far above theirs. They all preferred the easy way to the hard way, so none of them dared to fight Amoran, instead backing away. Shi Mei sighed, persuading him, Aran, don't start a fight, why don't you just let them off? Looking back at him, Amoran felt a twang in his heart, the corners of his eyes slightly warm. Shi Mei had always been so kind. When he died in the previous life, he hadn't any grievances or hatred. He even persuaded Amoran not to hate Shizun, who could have saved him but stood by and watched instead. But they. I'm all fine now, see. Don't cause trouble if you can, listen to your senior brother. Fine, I'll listen to you, I'll listen to everything you say. Amoran shook his head, glaring at the Taoists, you heard that? My senior brother's pleading mercy for you. Why don't you hurry up and scram? Still sticking here, do you want me to send you off? Yes, yes, yes. We'll scram now. We'll scram now. Shi Mei said to them, hold on. Those people felt that since Shi Mei had just been beaten up severely by them, he probably wouldn't let them off easily. They knelt down and kowtowed continuously, Sir Immortal, we were wrong, we didn't recognize a powerful person when we saw him. Please let us off, Sir Immortal. I spoke to you nicely earlier, but you didn't listen, Shi Mei sighed. You kidnapped other people's children and committed such crimes, causing their parents so much pain, can your conscience be clear? It's not clear. It's not clear. Sir Immortal, we're wrong, we won't do it again. We won't do it again. In future you must be upright people and not do evil deeds, do you understand? Yes. Sir Immortal is right. We've been educated. If that's the case, please apologize to this madam and give her children medical treatment. The matter was considered settled. Amoran helped Shi Mei onto the horse, borrowing another horse for himself from an inn. They rode side by side, going back to the sect. The crescent moon hung high in the sky, moonlight filtering through the leaves and shining on the forest paths. As they traveled, Amoran felt increasingly pleased. At first, he thought he'd have to go back to Life-Death Peak at the very least if he wanted to see Shi Mei again. He didn't expect to meet Shi Mei by chance while Shi Mei came down to do good deeds. This made Amoran believe all the more that he and Shi Mei were indeed fated. Although he and Shi Mei weren't together at this time, they already had some relations in the previous life, so it was obvious that things would naturally go well in this life. The only thing he needed to worry about was to protect Shi Mei well, to stop him from dying in his arms like back then. Not knowing that Amoran was a reborn person, Shi Mei chatted with him as per usual. As the two chatted, they reached the foot of Life-Death Peak. Unexpectedly, even though it was late at night, there was a person standing before the gate, watching them like a tiger observing prey. Amoran. You still know to come back. Amoran looked up. Oh ho, some angry son of the heavens this was. This person was none other than Chu Wanning as a young lad. Compared to the Chu Wanning he saw before his death, Chu Wanning looked even handsomer at around 15 to 16 years old. He wore simple, light armor that was black with blue edges, his hair pulled into a high ponytail and decorated with a silver ponytail ring. A lion head belt wrapped around his strong, slender waist, his forearms and calves well protected. On his back, a narrow saber glittered with an icy shine. On his left arm, a sleeve arrow case flashed silver. Ran sighed discreetly, thinking straightforwardly. Flashy. Xue Meng, be it as a youngster or a grown-up, was really very flashy. Just look at him, this fellow, wearing the full set of life-death peak armor at night instead of sleeping. What was he going to do? Do some kind of mating ritual like a pheasant or a peacock? However, just because Ran didn't like Xue Meng, it didn't mean Xue Meng would like him either. Ran was an illegitimate child. As a kid, he didn't know who his father was at all, doing odd jobs in a musician's hall in Xiongtan for a living. He was only found and brought back to life-death peak when he was 14. On the other hand, Xue Meng was the young lord of life-death peak and technically Ran's younger cousin. Xue Meng was accomplished despite his young age, and was a prodigy, called the favored son of the heavens and little phoenix by others. Normal people took about 3 years to establish the foundation, and at least 10 years to develop a spiritual core. Being gifted, Xue Meng managed to develop a spiritual core less than 5 years after beginning cultivation, delighting his parents and earning him praise from all directions. But in Ran's eyes, whether he was a phoenix or a chicken, a peacock or a duck, he was a bird anyway. The only difference was the length of the feathers. So Ran saw Xue Meng as a birdie thing. Xue Meng saw Ran as a dog fellow. Maybe it ran in the family, because Ran's talent was also astounding, perhaps even more astounding than Xue Meng's. When Ran had just joined them, Xue Meng thought of himself as especially noble and dignified, cultured, knowledgeable, good at martial arts, and handsome, worlds apart from his illiterate, slovenly ruffian of an older cousin. Thus the narcissistic little phoenix directed his attendants around, telling them, "All of you listen up. Ran loafs around, he's ignorant and incompetent, and he's a street punk through and through. None of you are to pay him any attention, just treat that guy like he's a dog." His attendants said flatteringly, "Young lord is very right, that Ran's already 14, and he's only just beginning to cultivate. I think he'll take at least 10 years to establish a foundation, and 20 years to develop a spiritual core. By then, our young lord'll have passed his tribulations and ascended, and he can only watch back down on earth." Xue Meng laughed, pleased with himself. 20 years. Humph, with that good-for-nothing look of his, he'll probably never form a spiritual core his whole life. No one expected that after giggling and studying under his Shizun for a year, this good-for-nothing managed to develop a spiritual core. At once, the little phoenix seemed to have been struck by lightning, feeling like his face had been slapped. He couldn't take this lying down. So he'd secretly prick voodoo dolls and curse the other guy to slip when flying on his sword, or get tongue-tied when reciting spells. Every time he met Ran, Xue Meng the little phoenix would even consistently roll his eyes at the other, his harumphs audible from miles off. Thinking of these childhood memories, Ran couldn't help but smile and crinkle his eyes. It had been a long time since he enjoyed the mortal realm like this. After being alone for 10 years, even the things he'd hated so much back then were very enjoyable for him now as he savored them. Seeing Xue Meng, Shi Mei immediately dismounted and removed his black-veiled hat, exposing his peerlessly beautiful face. No wonder he had to dress like this when going out alone. Just by stealing a glance next to him, Ran felt his conscience swaying, his imagination running loose. He thought this person was truly someone of unrivaled beauty, enough to shake one's soul. Shi Mei greeted him, "Young lord." Mei nodded. You're back. Has the matter of the bear people been settled? Shi Mei smiled, replying, it has been settled. It's all because I met a ran, who helped me a great deal. Mei's stern gaze swept over Ran as quickly as a sudden gale, then moved away at once. His brow creased, his expression full of disdain, as if looking at Ran for a moment longer would dirty his eyes. Shi Mei, you go back and rest first. Don't hang around with him so much, if you're with this sneaky thing, you'll turn bad. Not wanting to back down, Ran mocked, if Shi Mei's not going to be like me, is he supposed to be like you? Dressed all proper and fully armed even at night, showing off and sticking up your tail like some bird, you still call yourself the favored son of the heavens, ha ha ha, more like the favored daughter of the heavens maybe. Mei became furious. Ran, you clean up that mouth. This is my home. What position are you? Ran counted on his fingers. I'm your older cousin, so in that regard, I should be in front of you. As if he'd been splashed in the face with dog poop, Mei frowned in disgust, retorting, who's got an older cousin like you? Don't flatter yourself, in my eyes, you're nothing but a dog who rolled in mud. Mei liked to curse people using dog, stuff like dog son, doggy thing, son of a bitch, raised by a dog. Whenever his lips met, he cursed like no other. Ran was already used to it, so he picked his ear, not paying any attention. But Shi Mei felt awkward hearing it and said something about it in a low voice. With that, Mei grunted from his nostrils, finally closing that high and mighty bird mouth of his. Shi Mei smiled, asking softly, young lords out here so late, are you waiting for someone before the gates? What else could it be? Looking at the moon. Ran laughed heartily, hands on stomach, I was wondering why you dressed up so nicely, so it's because you're waiting to meet someone. Who's the unlucky one you're into? I pity her so much, ha 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 ha. Mei's face became even darker, so dark that one could scrape off 3 caddies of coal dust with their nails. He growled, you. Me. I was waiting for you, what do you make of that? End of the chapter. Stay tuned for more BL.